Hi, I'm Katie, host of Focus and Flourish podcast. I used to grind nonstop until I figured out how to automate my systems that ended up helping me achieve a 4-day work week. Now I earn more and work less. Want to do the same? Grab my free 6-figure strategy guide, which is the exact blueprint I use to grow my own business to where I am today. Link in the show notes. Are you new here? Tap subscribe to support the show and never miss an episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Focus and Flourish. Scale your creative business with system, strategy, and self-care. So I'm going into an episode I feel passionately about, mostly because it's centered around the deepest burnout I ever experienced in my career and how I solved it, essentially. And so if you've been following my work for a while, you probably already know I don't jump quickly on trends. I am not the photographer that wakes up excited to do all the tools and the newest hack. I really have built an ecosystem that we follow, trial and error, and now it works and we upgrade as needed. So I am very calculated with all of the tools that we use in our business. So this is a very intentional episode, and it will probably speak to all of you who deeply care about your work and your style and, how things come out. And I'm sure most of you have, been in front of your laptop where your eyes are dry and you're exhausted and you're editing. And so that's for you. This episode is for you. So when I tell you, why I rebuilt my AI editing profiles from the ground up, I never intended for it to be a super fast, quick experience. I looked at it the same way I look at so many other parts of my business and life, that we're building something. We're building something for longevity, consistency, and that's true to our work and my values. Right? So yes, we want trust in our work and that consistency, trust in, making sure things are in alignment, and trust that consistency in your work doesn't have to result in deep burnout and the cost of your time and your energy, right? So I want to take you behind the scenes of why I retired my original AI profile and why I created Elevated Edit, why there are now 2 profiles for 2 different, multiple niches, and how this process, mirrors something much bigger than, business and your creative life. So back in 2020, I was pregnant with my very first child, Rhea, and man, I had some deep seasons of burnout. 2017 and 18 were really bad. Even with a team, I was drained by post. And part of that was not perfectionism, but just I really care about consistency. It's a huge part of what I offer my clients, not only client experience, but final product consistency, right? So in 2020, one of my good friends was like, Katie, you've got to try Imagen AI. This is saving my life. And I was so hesitant. And when we were texting, he was like, you've been shooting weddings for 12 years. Your profile is just going to be so on point because you really can feed it so much work. And I was like, okay, so it's really built off me because I've worked really hard to build this preset and this consistency. And I was scared and I was pregnant and I was all the things. So this story today didn't start with AI at all. It started with burnout, deep burnout. I don't even need to get into the details. Burnout, even with an editing team, that's what I'm talking about. And so years ago, I noticed something subtle and kind of happening with my creativity. I loved shooting weddings. I loved starting the process of cultivating our brand photography business. I love people and I love storytelling, all those things so much. And editing and post-production and deadlines and deliveries were quietly draining me. It was just such a clear part that was hard for me for a very long time. And I did a lot of things to try to get out of that. I hired an editing team. I trained them. I had a studio where we had desks and we all worked together. So if they had questions about skin tone or whatever, I was there. And so we had a really cohesive, almost 9 to 5 vibe on editing days. And it worked for a while. It was really great. You know what I mean? But it was reliant on someone else, and it was so heavily reliant on me. And that was what was super hard, is I needed a clone of myself to speed up the volume that we were shooting. And at this point, I had an associate team. So we're talking 35 weddings a year, 40 families, newborn, maternity type shoots, probably 5 to 10 branding, lifestyle commercial shoots. Like, it was just too much. And so I was not drained because I didn't know how to edit. I was drained because I cared too much. I was the consistency, the tired eyes, getting in there. And so I wanted every image to feel cohesive. And of course, we got there and we built this business. I wanted skin tones to be honest. I wanted warmth. I wanted all of the parts of my brand and our aesthetics to always be consistent. And so I worked really hard to maintain that for a decade. And I still do, but it sped up a little bit. So I wanted contrast without harshness. I wanted galleries to feel really intentional and not like a collection of just like moments and edited on different days when we were tired and et cetera, et cetera. And that consistency became harder because sometimes I'd edit at night. Sometimes I'd prepare the anchor images. Anchors are like what I would give to my editors to go off of, right? And this was before AI. And so I did my very best. And the reality is like, I was tired. I was really tired of it, but I was so stubborn and unable to fully let go. So you have the twofold. You've got the burnout, the stubbornness, the commitment to consistency. And so that was kind of that was the beginning of my obsession with systems. Sort of when I started my team, 2013, 14, 15, I was like, no more of this. Like, we are diving in, right? And so these were not systems to remove creativity. These systems were all established and built to protect it. And that is what I want to talk about today. So my original profile did begin in my pregnancy during a global pandemic. I fed it like 500 weddings. Oh my God, probably 1,000 family shoots. So many Lightroom catalogs. And I will do an episode on file organization, so you never lose a Lightroom catalog again and you have your stuff together. This is something we talk about a lot in my membership. But anyways, so the profile for a long time was called Create Naturel, and it served me really well. It was rooted in film inspiration, warmth, my true to life imagery. But what ended up happening is my business evolved and something kind of clicked with me after we had our second baby in 2024. So my work has matured. My work has evolved. My eye has refined. My clientele has changed. We have entered, we are in luxury markets. And my standards are higher. I needed a next level sort of editing suite that would serve the business branches, right? So we have Create Photography, which is weddings, family, lifestyle, newborns, maternity. And then we have Katie Monroe Brand Photography, which is commercial work, branding, product, e-com. And I was using one profile for everything. And although it worked for a while, it just did not represent the future growth of this business. And so this is important because many creatives and photographers stay loyal to things that no longer serve them out of nostalgia or oh my gosh, I've been doing this way for so long, or just because they're scared because of fear. So retiring that profile wasn't like rejection. It was me saying, I'm going to evolve. I'm ready for the next level of like support here so we can be out on location, shooting, doing the things we love, which is being with people, storytelling, all of those pieces. So Elevated Edit was born because I needed something more that could carry weddings, families, branding, commercial work, studio work, natural light, artificial light, different environments without breaking or drifting from my commitment to consistency. So that required starting over, kind of, but taking what I'd already built and refining it. So I want to talk about what Elevated Edit really is and why, and just like how it's changed my life. And we still have an editing team. So that's the interesting part. I did not replace humans, but Elevated Edit isn't just a preset. It's not a trendy profile. It's not a shortcut. It is the result. This profile is the result of almost 2 decades of refinement. I think of it like one of my heirlooms. So much love and energy and time and tweaking has gone into the way that our work looks and feels. One part being in camera, the second part being in post, right? So I trained it on thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of hand edited images first. So images that I had spent all that time burning out, perfecting, is what created what we have now. And I wasn't asking AI to decide my style or buying someone, I wasn't doing it that way. I was asking it to really respect my style. Beyond training it on images, we have fed galleries. I mean, I'm a total systems fanatic. So if you can imagine, I went deep. So the heart of Elevated Edit is actually very, very simple. Refined color, warm undertones, accurate luminous skin tones for all races, right? So you want to be able to work with a diverse community where you are. And this edit is also really built for mixed race couples, for different skin tones, for, really appealing to all types of photographers. Right? So that also comes in pretty big with commercial work. So if we're doing a shoot for a tech startup and their model lineup is, people from all different backgrounds, I don't want to sit there for 7 hours tweaking different types of skin. This is why I care so much, because we do have a very diverse clientele. And beyond luminous, like accurate skin tones, really balanced hues. I am such a magenta green. Hues are very important to me. The perfect amount of desaturation on greens so that the lawn doesn't look like a highlighter, that kind of thing. So editorial polish is what I was going for. Editorial polish without like stylization and going with something trendy, like truly timeless editorial results. And so the best part about this edit is that it holds up everywhere. And because professionalism isn't about like how dramatic an edit looks or how trendy you are, it's about how reliable and consistent your work is. That matters. So you have to ask yourself, how consistent can I be? Right? Am I using a different preset on all different galleries? Like that will not sustain any photographer in the long run. So I do want to share why there are now 2 profiles. This is where things get kind of fun. So I realized that as I was refining Elevated Edit, True to Life, kind of the main one from our old one, I realized, I was like, oh my God, not all photography and not all of the shoots that we do need the same level of emotional weight. So weddings and family work needs a level of softness and connection and storytelling and a perfect level of contrast to be bold and beautiful and editorial without being too intense, right? And then brand and commercial work varies between artificial and natural light. And it really needs like clarity, consistency, and sort of trust that it's going to come out that way. An example would be like our elevated brand edit is a tiny bit punchier, right? So if you are a brand photographer, it is going to have that clean editorial polish and just a touch more blacks, or just, so instead of forcing one profile to do everything, which is what I was doing before, is I created two distinct intentional tools. We've got Soulful Luxury and True to Life, and this is emotion forward, human, really story driven. And then we've got Refined, Strategic, and Brand Focused, and this is very forward, clean, and reliable, and it allows for global tweaking that will align more with your work while having sort of the bones of what those types of shoots need in deliverables. So it's the same craftsmanship, it's the same, process that we did here. It's just different priorities and different audiences and different types of photographers. So now we have, our niche for commercial and branding, and our niche for wedding, family, portraits, seniors, etc. So here's the transformational part for me, at least. This wasn't about editing. This was about giving myself permission to shed a layer, to let go of what no longer fit my lifestyle. I was about to have a baby. I was already burnt out, right? And it was also about building systems that supported my growth. I knew that having children and starting our family was going to require a massive amount of energy from my cup, and we only have so much energy in it, right? So I stopped proving and started refining. I was like, this is go time. We've got to really do this right. And then the biggest piece for me was protecting my energy without lowering my standards or lowering the quality of our deliverables to our clients. So I see photographers struggle with this all the time. In our Momentum Method membership, it's like, oh my God, they think slowing down means falling behind, or systems mean selling out, or, consistency kills creativity. Like, we got to do something edgy or this and that. And all of those things I really don't believe to be true. I think consistency builds a reliable brand image, brand identity, right? And so I believe that consistency builds trust, and trust builds a stronger business model, more leads, more brand recognition. I believe that systems protect creativity. So you're not spending 90% of the day on admin, editing, social media, all of those things, but you're protecting your creativity for where it really should go. And then I also believe that refinement is a sign of maturity in your business. So when you go pick a random profile and you just use it, and then another one, and this and that, you don't have the consistency. You're not building trust. So when you take an AI profile like Elevated Edit and you run your galleries through it and go in there and you tweak them and you make them exactly how you want them to look off of this base that has been built for 20 years, you're maturing your business model. You are actually stepping into more of a CEO, like, okay, we've got a system here. We are going to get these galleries out. This is going to happen. And so for those of you listening that don't have your Lightroom catalogs completely organized from the last 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, this is a huge asset for you. This is also a huge asset for photographers that are really confused on their style and need a base to build upon, because then you can begin feeding back your profile and training it with your edited galleries so it becomes yours. And that is the beauty of this model, is that you can start here and evolve. Okay. So when your work is supported, right? When your work is supported, you're going to show up differently. When you have some of this weight off your shoulders, You shoot with more presence. You show up with more presence. You deliver with more confidence, and you're going to build a business that supports your life. Can you imagine if you removed editing from your life? Well, almost. We still refine and we still have, Emily is my incredible editing assistant. We have a workflow, but this has cut out at least 20 hours a week of work. Part of the reason it's so robust is that we've continued to refine this to make it almost perfect. I don't want to say it'll be perfect for you, but it's perfect for us, and then it can be built upon from there. And so the beauty is, if you're listening to this and if you feel that quiet nudge, the one that's like, okay, something needs to change, I really want to trust it, you don't need to overhaul everything overnight. That is not what you need to do. You do need to honor where you are, not where you started. And so if you are struggling with editing in any way, I would love to connect with you. Elevated Edit represents a chapter for me, but it also represents a new chapter for any photographer struggling in this area. It is not a trendy profile. It is clean. It is timeless. It is beautiful. And again, trained on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of images pre-AI. And that is what I love about it. This is such a refined profile. And so it's not louder, it's not trendier, it's clear, it's calm, it's aligned, it's consistent. And so if you also want to start creating timeless work that does not align with trends and that will, I sometimes say to my clients, I'm like, I want you to look at your wedding album 20 years from now and be like, we love these photos. And to my brand clients, I say, the way that we edit and the style that I'm giving you means that you may not need to do a brand shoot for 2 years and that we can just do a brand refresh. This is going to be my editing style forever. It will slowly evolve over time, but here we are. And so if this episode gave you permission to refine is step one, or evolve or simplify, then it did what I intended for it to do. So I'm going to link everything we spoke about in the show notes, including a bunch of promo codes and all of that. But before I do so, I'm going to share my screen briefly, just so you guys can see what and where and what all this looks like. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So here is the Create AI editing rebrand that we just did. And I just want to show you, we've got, we're on Imagen and After Shoot, and we've got like weddings and couples, and then we go into branding. So I'm just going to brief through like 5 images from each of the before and after for all of you that are watching the YouTube video and not just listening. And if you want to see this, just head to YouTube and you'll see it on my page. So we've got before and edit, or before and after. This is a wonderful skin tone and hue reference. We've got before in Yosemite and after. We've got before in Napa and after. Before in wine country and after. Before, totally raw images and after. Before, after. So I think that's enough to show you what this does, how we work on the wedding family, sort of the true to life profile. Now, if we were to head back over here, I'm going to show you the elevated edit branding before and afters, because I feel like so many people are entering into the world of branding right now. I don't blame you. It's one of my favorite things to do. So we've got before, this is a cannabis company, and after. Before, flat lay, after. So we're not overly filtering, but you can see that the refinement is there. Before portrait, after. Fitness, anything like that. So we've got before, after. Interior design, real estate photographers, before, after. This is for e-commerce, lingerie line, before, after. Branding portraits, before, after. Same. Food photographers and wine photographers, this hospitality, before, after. Wellness, health and wellness space, before, after. Headshots, before, after. So you can see that the warmth is there, the skin is there, and that almost every image, regardless of race or environment, is consistent. So this is a small startup in San Francisco, portraits in studio environment with lights. So again, totally universal for people that shoot in studio or natural light. This is a pop of both. We had a natural light source with a strobe. And I'm just going to say right there, I think that's enough before and afters, but that will give you guys sort of a better idea of how this profile works and, where to go from there. I am going to wrap this up. It's a longer episode than I anticipated. Thank you all for being here. If you know anybody that is struggling with editing, please send them my way. Send this episode to them. We have so many pieces that we want to share with all of you. Our newsletter is also in the show notes, so please sign up for it. And that is it for today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to DM me on Instagram. Please don't feel free, reach out. We are an open book over here. And I am so excited to dive deeper into these topics where we talk about systems as protecting our energy instead of shortcuts. So anyways, go to the show notes, check out our system strategy and mindset bundle. It is an incredible resource for any of you that are really looking for guidance and a roadmap forward, where you're done guessing what to do next, whether it be marketing, branding, all those things. The system strategy and mindset bundle is also in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in. I am so grateful for this audience and for the opportunity to share what I've learned with all of you. All right, I'll see you guys next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it on your favorite social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your share can help someone improve their photography business and their life. Use the hashtag Focus and Flourish Podcast so we can see your posts and connect with you there.